Family, give thanks for the mighty life giver. Give thanks for King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, the Black Christ in flesh, President Gordon King. Yes, Royal Family. Today we going again live with the priest. You know, we just want to give thanks for the YouTube family, all who follow, subscribe, like and comment on the videos. Yeah, this evening we're reasoning on self-respect, and we're gonna take it on a universal level, not just a personal level, as to say, self-respect. Yes, of course, charity starts at home, but for sure, we universally as a people, you know, must have a standard of respect. Thanks for coming in, Royal Family. Black again. Yeah, today we're talking about Black African self-respect. Yes, my Royal Family. Yes, Royal Family. First of all, I and I being a Black African, you know, ascendant, born in the Western world, in the Bahamas, we call it Egypt, Bahamas. Egypt is the house of bondage. My ancestors came here 400 years ago in Moore County, and it's amazing, how the media and the television and the different organizations has done such a good job of, disconnecting us, we Black Africans, in the West from, our African brothers and sisters at home in the land. But today, we must remember that, you know, the Africans that are in the West that were brought here during the slave trade, you know, is one family with the Africans at home, with one family, The Black Africans, as I and myself, that were brought here 400 years ago, we didn't pop at the sky, the, ascendants, when they left Africa, you know, they were someone brother or sister or auntie or grandfather or, grandmother, granduncle, someone cousin. There was someone neighbor, and, you know, my ascendance was taken away, you know, from the family and brought in the West, and then through strategic mental, situations, they force, my ancestors to, even to some point today, totally disconnect from Africa. Most Africans in the West, you know, they don't identify themselves as African. And most Africans in Africa, they don't truly from the heart identify, the blacks in the West as African. This is the disconnection through colonialization, you see. This was the plan of colonialization, to divide the people and disconnect them from having a oneness, you see. So even, we have to go deeper, we have to dig deeper, if I and someone in Malawi have the same great 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 grandmother. I mean, that's my family. I'm only not there because of slavery. It's not by choice that my ancestors left the land. They were stolen away, so there has to be a reuniting psychologically between black people in Africa at home and black Africans in the West. We have to reunite the thought that we are one family, you see, coming from one grandparents, you know what I mean? So when we look at the disconnection in colonialism and imperialism that was brought to Africa and those that brought us out here in slavery, when we really look at it, right in Africa, they have Africans that don't see another African in another country as a brother or as a sister. Many of these people live right on a borderline that was created by the colonists. One house on this side, is the auntie, and the house on this side is the sister. But when they draw the line, now, this one on this side is, Zimbabwean, this one over here is Malawian. So they separate the people, even right within Africa. The South African feel like they much different again, like than the Malawian, but they the same. These all one people that come from one family. You know, even down the tribal lines. That's where two tribes come from. Two tribes come from the family members splitting and creating their own tribe. You still come from one family, and it's really division, not love, but it's division that creates all these multiple tribes and separation between us. It's not love. So we as Africans, we have to work on reuniting our thought, our hearts, that we are first one family. And this is important because when you look around the world, that's how every other nation lives. All the Chinese live as one family, even though it's different parts of China. But all the Indians, they live as Indians. The Europeans, they have different parts of Europe, but they all considered Europeans. You see, they come united as one, you see. So the same we must do in Africa, even though we have different parts of Africa, we must remember we is one family. And as I was saying, this is so important because when you look even into security, if someone is held, if a Chinese is held hostage, in India, you know, in, the Chinese people come together to make sure that that Chinese is returned home safely out of India. You see, we as black Africans, we were brought in slavery for 100 years. No one in Africa per se really came and rescued us much more than the emperor. Give thanks for coming in. Black again. Heart of love. Give thanks, rain songs for coming in. So it was only the emperor himself that came, you know, to the West and actually say, hey, these black Africans, they my people. The Ethiopians and these people is one people. So outside of that, there is a serious disconnection. That we in the West, we don't even have no security. Every day, you see so many, you know, Africans in the West killed, under this oppression, this slavery, under this racism, and you see the law and the justice system in the West doesn't favor the black African. Even the Constitution of America, it exempts the black African. And no one seems to be talking about this, no one seems to care about it, because we blacks in the West, we're not even considered African no more. After they beat Africa out of us, they give us a new name. So they call us Bahamian now. So someone in Africa, when you say you're Bahamian, they don't see you as an African. They see you as something else. When you say you're a Jamaican, a Haitian, a Trinidadian, You're something new. You're not African to them in a lot of senses. You know what I mean? And we're gonna see that, even in how Africans at home, they deal with us as Africans in the West. And that brings up my conversation about, you know, the 2019, year of return. It was a scam. It was false, you know, and this is the reason why so many nations do not respect Africa, because Africa and Africans, we as a people don't have respect for ourselves. You see, let me explain. In 2019, the Ghana government, instead of from the heart, really consider the black Africans in the West as his brothers and sisters that he came through slavery. We didn't buy plane tickets and boat tickets to come to the West. We didn't have no B&Bs, hotels, motels waiting on us. We were thrown on plantation, lived the worst conditions. And the Ghana government have the heart to exploit the black African slave with a false year of return 2019. If you know your brothers was taken away in slavery in ships, if you know the majority of the Africans in the West are poor, the majority, they have to watch the news. They must know something about the Western world. Instead, they call for Africans in the West, black Americans, being whatever it is. Once you have money, come get your plane ticket, come buy a piece of land, come do this, pay for your citizenship. The average slave don't have money to do that. What kind of year of return is that? The year of return is when Africa respects herself and say, these my people that you took out of Africa, and they needs to return by my accommodations or by your accommodations. It shouldn't be by their accommodations. I mean, it was just, and then what happened? What happened after that is nothing. Africans still in the West, still stuck in the West. That's not the plan. That's not the way you deal with security. That's not the way you show the security to your people, to your culture, the people of your same race. You see, Ghana and all the leaders of Africa must come together and go to the heart, not the politics. Go to the heart. 400 years ago, so many of our people were taken away. They were extorted. They worked 400 years, no compensation. They have no transportation. You know, what can we do for them? What are we going to do for them? How are we going to show the world that we are a great nation again? And we care for our people. And we care for the justice of our people. You see, that's when you start to gain respect. A lot of people think otherwise, just, you know, making a bunch of money and stuff. No, it's about the whole loyalty of the people. It's for all the people, you know. And, finally, it's the leaders of Africa that has to make this impact. They have to address the United Nations. They have to address the BRICS nations. They have to address NATO. Yeah. And see about these things. Why so many black Africans were carried in the West, worked for 400 years, never get no compensation, never got no repatriation, no redemption. And when we look at the brighter side, instead of African leaders taking payouts from the United States and from all these BRICS nations and all these people, if the African leaders go to heart, give thanks for coming in, royal family, heart to love. Yes, Jerry, bless upon a rebel. Yes, if the African leaders take it to heart, they would recognize that the Africans in the West is a gold mine. Legally, legally, every African in the West is the gold mine. They is the, the blessings to Africa. Why? According to the Supreme Court of Justice, the international laws that govern the world, we, the African descendants in the West, we was never compensated for slavery. And the white world is not going to get away with that. The African leaders today may not see to it, but I assure you the African leaders tomorrow will see to it. They're not going to get away with that. They have to pay compensation, and that's with repatriation. We don't want no payment in the West. We want our payment to develop Africa. You hear that, African leaders? Every African looking to repatriate with compensation is bringing wealth, not just wealth. While we was out there in the West, we were slaved. We were forced to do works and learn things that, yeah, not even at our will. So we educated, we intelligent, we went to school, we overcome so many things, we overcome their oppressions amidst still being in their slave system. We become doctors and lawyers and all these things. We bring in a lot of things to Africa, a lot of contribution. But we need the leaders to see from the heart. Get out the political scheme. Every nation only coming there to rob Africa. They want gold, they want textile. That's what they always came there for. This is nothing new. Go read your history books. They came to Egypt, they came to Mali, they came to Ethiopia for cinnamon, for frankincense. Come on. Yeah, it's nothing new. They always come to Africa for something. But the reality is, when our leaders come to the heart, it will benefit Africa. Every African in the West is due over $1 million for sure, US dollars. They could transfer it into gold, silver, whatever, but it's over $1 million cash dollars they owe us for sure. Per person for slavery in each household. So, yeah, when we address this seriously, when the black African leaders, along with the leaders in the West, well, to some degree, give thanks for King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, our President Gordon King, the forerunner, for Freedom Redemption International Repatriation, Marcus Garvey, who set the way, and King Rastafari, who come and confirm that this works, that these two men is doing is right, it's just. No one should be carried into slavery and then neglected, given different names, religion, and then you just totally brainwash the people. It's like straight men in white. It's not men in black. Because man is Satan. It's men in white. They came in and just zapped the whole black race. Many people in Africa get zapped. Because in South Africa, again, a white man walks next to a black South African and say, I'm a South African too. The black man's supposed to be, no, you're a European. Yeah, you visit South Africa. No, it don't work like that. But, identity crisis. Identity crisis come from lack of self-respect. Where does lack of self-respect come from? Lack of discipline. That's why so many African leaders still have a problem with His Majesty. Because Emperor Haile Selassie is a disciplined king. He's a disciplined God. He showed development in Africa, in Ethiopia, bringing it from a nomad nation to a state to be represented among all the nations. But yet they run with the white propaganda. He steal from the Ethiopian. What kind of crap? Foolishness. Foolishness. So the black African have to come from the heart. The lusting, the wealth, running after the world and how they no. That's the illusion they put on the African. To live one way, by word, but by action live a different way. China cares for every Chinese. You go kidnap a Chinese in a different country and let China find that out. China is coming for that Chinese. That's what life is about. When Babylon took the children of Israel, God come for Israel. It's just history. When Castro had, his prisoners, his people request, let them go. Castro let them go. The Jews, I mean, come on. What happened to black people? You notice every time it comes to black people, the rules just change. Even in America, I tell you, the Constitution of America is for Mexicans, Chinese, Indians, anyone. But when it reaches the black people, the Constitution, it changes. You know, so I can leave with this. You know, I'm not elusive of the spiritual world that exists. Spirit just mean words. For a very long time, a group of people, been secretly making a choice to do the devil work. They choose it. A lot of people don't like the God and devil talk, but just use your common sense, good and evil, or right and wrong. Just common sense. Something has to be right, something has to be wrong. Touching the fire is wrong because why, it'll burn your finger off. Common sense. So, for a very long time, some group of people decide they going down with the devil, and they suicide. They saying they can live their best life. They can gather all the wealth they can. They can try to get to the moon if the earth break down. They got all kind of things in their head. And these people are the rich, elite people that, invade countries like Africa. These the same people that conquest and brought us in slavery on the SS Jesus. A Christian a Christian ship. You see how mad these people is? A Christian ship that is backed by a theory that a Jesus, which is the Savior, which is founded on love, is the same ship that gone and get a bunch of black Africans, brutalize them, and bring them back in slavery. And like on top of it, when they bring the slaves to the West, they teach them about this Jesus. Say, Jesus loved you. I mean, that's why I say it's just prophecy. It's just biblical prophecy, because for Africans to even have to go through this, and today the whole world still looking at people like me like I walk like he's crazy. What he's talking about? I'm a Bahamian now. I'm a Jamaican now. The world has moved on. I'm a black American. I have nothing to do with Africa. I'm born in Africa. I was born in the West. How were you born in the West? You came from someone. You didn't come out of the soil. You didn't come out of a dare. You didn't come out of, you came out of someone. And they came out of someone. And that's what history is about. That's what's called having a history, ancestry. So you may not have been born in Africa, but you came from somewhere. And the black Africans in the West, outside of those who've been there for thousands of years, the Mayans and all of them, the black Africans, we from Africa. And we didn't come there on plane tickets. We didn't come there on vacation. We came there during slavery. And we still in slavery with no pay. And people don't seem to have a problem with that, because they don't respect themselves as black African. Those who watching me, those who will watch, and those who may not have a chance to watch, it's all about respect. We respect ourselves. So we can't let some nations come, thief us out our land, teach us about their God, give us new names, make us work for them for 400 freaking years, and we don't make them pay. In the hood, what you call that? That's called being light, boy. You light, you soft, you was a pushover. You letting people just push you over and do what you feel. That's what happened. The whole European race, just work us for 400 years, didn't pay us, and then straight up, that's too bad. Our ancestors did it. Where you come from? Did you drop out the sky? Did you get your wealth out the sky? No. Trace your history. All the white man wealth come from the slave back. The black slave back. Europe had no wealth until the 17th century slave trade. Gave Europe its development and gave America its development. Both America wealth and Europeans' wealth is off the slave back. So where you get your money from? Why didn't you leave the wealth and say, I'm not gonna take my ancestors' wealth because they got it from slaves back? No, you took the ancestors' wealth and you live in the life and you have your businesses all over the world. You have all your lands and all your hectares, your diamonds and your rubies. You enjoying your wealth that your ancestors got from the slaves back, but yet you don't want to connect. You only want the money, but you don't want the judgment that comes with it. If you don't want to be a part of slavery, if you don't want to be a part of the judgment of slavery, stay out of the wealth of slavery. Because the wealth of slavery has to go to court. And Africans must be compensated. If Africans don't get compensated, it makes no sense Africa rising. Yeah, because they only rising to defeat themselves. If you don't love yourself, you can fall. A kingdom divided within itself can't stand. So if the black Africans in Africa are going to separate the black Africans in the West because the white men say so, and the black African accept it in Africa, trust me, that shows a lot about African leadership. And I know better than that. I know African leaders may be sleeping, but they ain't dead. They may not be the smartest people in the world, but they ain't dumb. They may be angry at some time, but they have love. So I just asking the African leaders, come from the heart. Stop the politics. Stop playing the demonic game, the democracy. We Africans don't remember no democracy. We come from kings and queens. And a righteous king rule. A righteous queen rule. A wicked king, we cast him out. A wicked queen, we cast them out. A wicked noble, we cast them from among the people. That's African tradition. Because we know righteousness is progressiveness. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Ija, Rastafari. Give thanks for ones watching. All who watch the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, always share the video so other people, could see. Sometimes some people don't be aware. Sometimes they may be distracted. They might miss the notification. You just share it to them and be like, oh, okay, give thanks. So I appreciate all who always watch. I glorify to be in the presence of brilliant black people, brilliant black minds in this time. You see, in this time, all Africans have to come out the West. We have to go back to Africa. Africa is for the African. One of the king's statement is, you strongest where you born. Our birthright is Africa. You take African to China, that's not a Chinese, that's Africa. That's an African in China. You take an African and you carry him to Europe, that's not a European. That's an African in Europe. Take an African, you put him in India, it's not Indian. It's an African in India. In America, the Bahamas, Jamaica, wherever. You take an African, you bring us out there in slavery. We're not Bahamians, we're not Americans. We're black Africans in the Bahamas. We're black Africans in Trinidad. We're black African in America. Not by will, by force. Many Africans come to the West to do business today. That's on them. We're talking about the poor, the have-not, those who didn't choose to be here. Who once stayed, they could stay. 1 million Africans could leave Africa and catch the flight and come live in America. If they ain't got no sense. because they could see what happening to America, but fine, that's their choice. Anyway, black again. Reason no have no end. Love, 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 love. Give thanks. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Always black again. Love, love. Black again. Love, 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 love. Rastafari.